Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with the new classical music alphabet, and we're up to the letter F. It seems a long time ago already that we were all stuck on the three B's. Boring, more boring, and boringest. I mean, come on. There's so many other letters and composers we could be talking about. And F has some particularly lovely examples for us to toy with. First, César Franck. Oh, God, he's wonderful. 1822 to 1890. Didn't have a very long life, actually, but he wrote a lot of music. He's known, however, only for a handful of late masterpieces that he composed, in his 50s or 60s, somewhere in there. And it's kind of a shame when you think about it. I mean, his major work, the Symphony in D minor, his major orchestral work, was written around 1888. He only had a few years left to live. It was a disaster when it was premiered. He was a remarkable composer because in many respects, he was ahead of his time. He may have invented the symphonic poem before Liszt, and it was a poem of the same name of Liszt's first symphonic poem, Ce qu'on entend sur la montagne, what one hears on the mountaintop. He wrote, the more you discover him, the more interesting he becomes. Let's put it that way. But the representative work that I think everybody should hear and everybody should know by heart is his Violin Sonata. It is without question one of the great chamber works ever, possibly the finest violin sonata written after Beethoven's. It's just an extraordinary work. It's in cyclical form, like most of his larger works. That is, themes from the beginning movement return later on, normally. And the finale has one of the most haunting, beautiful melodies anybody ever wrote. You must know it. It's so beautiful. Once it gets stuck in your head, it never comes out. And it's played as a perfect canon between the piano and the violin. That is, one part follows the other part. And there's something so innocent and extraordinarily beautiful about it. And the passion from the first movement, which is a very passionate movement, and it returns at the very end before the happy ending. There's nobody like Franck. There really isn't. And it's absolutely lovely. And the recording that I recommend, it features the amazing Polish violinist Kaja Danczowska with Christian Zimerman on Deutsche Grammophon. It's coupled with Szymanowski's Myths, another fabulous work that you really ought to get to know. But the Franck Violin Sonata is just extraordinary, and that recording is amazing. Next, Manuel de Falla. 1876 to 1946, the great Spanish Romantic composer. They're a late Romantic composer. There is something about Spanish composers that's sort of interesting. A lot of them write very little music, and then they die. I mean, Falla spent most of his life polishing like the same five works. They're just very, very self-critical, extremely high level of finish in all of his music. But there's very little of it. And in this case, I have chosen El Amor Brujo, Love the Magician. Oh, it's fabulous, with Naughty Mistral, singer, because it's a ballet with songs, and conducted by Frühbeck de Bourgos on Decca. It's a wonderful ballet. You know it. You don't know you know it. But it has the ritual fire dance in it. Da 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 da. Yeah, da 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 da. It's very, very beautiful and fabulously sung by Naughty Mistral. It was one of those great singers whose voice was indescribable. She had that folk kind of timbre and delivery and simplicity of utterance, but at the same time, real artistry in the way she did it and good intonation, And the funny thing about the ritual fire dance is that it goes round twice, identically each time. And so the only way you can stop it is if you know how to get out of it the second time around. It's like there's an off ramp musically speaking, and you have to know how to get to the off ramp, or else you're going to wind up back at the beginning doing it again. And that is exactly what happened to my dad's crazy sister, my Aunt Barbara, who was taking piano lessons, as was my father, and my grandmother was the stage mother from hell, was entering them into competitions, and she had to play the ritual fire dance. And she tells this story about how she got stuck in the ritual fire dance. She couldn't remember where the off-ramp was. So she came round and she played it again, and she came round and she played it again. And she said to me, after what must have been like 15 minutes, it's 3 minutes long, she just shut the piano, slammed the piano closed, got up and walked home. And that was the last time she had anything to do with the piano. So there you go. It was worth it just to have trip up my crazy Aunt Barbara. But anyway, so it's a great work. Absolutely delightful 25-minute long ballet about a woman who is haunted by the spirit of her dead boyfriend, which is preventing her from finding a new boyfriend. But they perform this sort of exorcism type thing, and then dawn comes with bells and things, and she's finally able to get on with her life. It's charming and delightful. And last but not least, certainly not least, an avant-garde composer, Morton Feldman, who lived from 1926 to 1987. Feldman is known for writing rug music. Well, not really. That's a short way of saying he was inspired at the end of his career by the patterns in Oriental rugs, Persian rugs, where you have geometric shapes that are not exactly perfect, that very slowly undergo permutations, which is what happens in his music. The result of that is that his music is exceptionally long. This is one of his second string quartets, like 4 hours or something, or 5 hours. He wrote these incredibly long pieces made to be played very, very quietly, with largely atonal thematic material for widely differing timbres, and they create this image of static, like a mobile, like sculptures, like a static pattern that slowly undergoes permutations in time. And it's very specialized music. I mean, it's not for everybody, but it's incredibly honest music. It does exactly what he says it does. And to hear it undergo this these slowly shifting pattern things, is just fascinating. It really is. And the work in question that I think is a wonderful introduction to his music is Crippled Symmetry, which does exactly what the title says it does. Each of the players, it's scored for piano and celesta, which is one player, and then percussion, which is like glockenspiel and vibraphone or marimba, mallet percussion, and flute, which you can also alternate on like a piccolo or something else. But it's 3 players. Flute family, the keyboard family, and the mallet percussion family. That's what they are. And each of these, it's a fully notated work. Each player has their own fully notated part. They are not told, there's no performance score. It's not conducted. So they're not told exactly how the parts line up with each other. Each of them pursues its own path, but roughly, at the same time as the others. And these patterns gradually change and interact in different ways over the slowly changing course of the music. The piece usually takes a couple of discs and plays for about 100 minutes or so, a couple hours, somewhere in there. It depends on what tempos the players choose. But it's an extraordinary piece. And if you enjoy that, he wrote a lot of late works that are quite similar in concept, but quite different in sonority and length and duration and all that. Really exceptional, an exceptional musical mind who invented, like a lot of avant-garde composers tried to do, invented his own sound, his own musical language, but his was successful because he knew what it meant, he knew how to use it, and it does exactly what it's supposed to do. A fascinating force in contemporary music. So those are the 3 Fs. César Franck, Manuel de Falla, and Morton Feldman. I'm very interested to hear yours. Remember, composer and recommended recording. Typical of that composer. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me. Take care.